If you're sending the same email to your entire list every time, you're doing it wrong and it's costing you money. So here's the thing, not everyone on your list is the same. You've got first-time visitors, repeat buyers, people who haven't opened an email in 6 months, VIPs who bought 10 times. So sending them all the same message is like walking into a room and yelling the same thing at everyone. It just doesn't work. Segments let you send the right message to the right people at the right time. And in Klaviyo, they actually update automatically. So once you set them up, they just work. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through exactly how to create these segments in Klaviyo step by step, and I'll show you the exact segments every store needs and how to actually use them to make more money from your email. All right, let's get into it. So just to start, I think the big issue, right, is that a lot of brands, they send the same email to everyone, and that's a big no-no. It's a big problem because it lowers performance. So just blasting to your entire list lowers open rates, it leads to more unsubscribes and just less revenue. And it's just not as effective as really just hyper segmenting, your audience, because a lot of brands have huge email lists and it just doesn't make sense to send out to everyone, especially because, there's bound to be people in that list that have a history of just not engaging with your brand and, they probably no longer want to hear from you. So just it's hurting deliverability and it's just hurting the reputation with your brand as well. The other thing is that one size does not fit all. So not everyone on your list is the same. Some people might have special interest in specific collections or categories. Others might be more higher intent. Others are just maybe just window shoppers. So depending on specific behaviors and the specific actions that people are taking on your site, it's going to be very, very crucial to be able to segment out these different types of audiences accordingly. So that way we can send them very personalized and relevant messaging. And then that kind of leads into my next point is that personalization totally matters. So different people need different messages. That's kind of the name of the game when it comes to email marketing. You can't just be sending the same message to everyone because then they're not going to feel like you're speaking to them directly. And the emails themselves just aren't going to be as effective, right? When we're able to segment our audiences, we're able to for sure see higher open rates, higher click-through rates, and just higher conversion rates across the board. And so in this video, I'm actually going to be showing you how to create these segments in Klaviyo. This is the beginner's guide on how to do that. And it's very, very simple to do within your Klaviyo account. Now, before we dive in any further, I want to kind of explain what is a segment, right? Because I think the word segment gets thrown around a lot, and there's also lists and then there's segments, and I'll get into the explanation of what both of those mean. But a segment is basically, number one, it's a filtered group. So a segment is a filtered group of subscribers based on the specific conditions that you set, right? And these are getting updated in real time as well. So people are getting put into and taken out of the segment on an hourly basis within Klaviyo. And so this is, again, based off of dynamic behavior. So just as an example, if you create a segment of people that have opened an email in the last 30 days, people flow in and out as the behavior changes. So the next day, it looks at the previous 30 days, and then people have opened an email in the last 30 days, people might be entered into that segment. If they have not opened an email in the last 30-day look back window, they might be taken out of that segment. So the great part about segments is that they update in real time. And so you can really have an accurate depiction of who you're actually sending, your specific emails to. So that's just one example. And we're going to get into many, many other examples. But one thing that I find when I speak with a lot of brand owners is that they don't know the difference between lists and segments. So segments is what I just explained. They're based off of specific filters that update in real time versus lists. Lists are basically static, right? These are people that are manually added or subscribed. So for example, think of, let's say you do a pop-up giveaway for your store and it's like a physical in-person location and you're collecting email addresses at this, physical pop-up. Well, that, once you collect all those emails and upload it to Klaviyo, that is a static list. It's not updating or people aren't being taken out or being put in that segment. It's because it's a snapshot of that pop-up that you had, right? All those emails that you collected on that specific day. That's going to be considered a list, and that's just used for collection. Again, it doesn't change automatically. And then segments are, dynamic. So these are based off of behavior and data. They're auto-updating. They're used for sending and they update in real time. Another example of a list is basically your typical newsletter on Klaviyo. So when people subscribe to your email list, they're actually subscribing to a specific list, right? Whether that be your newsletter list or your email list, it's a very static list and it grows over time. It never shrinks unless you actually remove people from it manually. So the key takeaway is that you want to use lists for collection. For example, the in-person event, like I mentioned, or if you have a pop-up and you're collecting, emails or SMS, or if you're running some specific offer on your site and you want to collect emails for that specific offer, you're going to use that for collection. And then segments are going to be sent for sending. So these are campaigns. You can even have flows that are based off of the specific segments that are triggering, such as sunset flow for an unengaged segment or an espresso shot flow, which is in my guide. But yeah, that's kind of the main sort of difference between both of those things. By the way, I just mentioned my guide, but free resource in the description, if you'd like, is an email revenue playbook that I actually created not too long ago. It's 126 pages covering everything that you need to know about email marketing for e-commerce brands in 2026. So it covers everything from actually how to grow your list substantially, how to improve deliverability significantly, how to build and set up flows and which flows to build out, how many emails, the touch points and the strategy behind each of those flows, how to send campaigns, what type of campaigns to send, how many campaigns you should be sending, and also how to optimize things and how to A/B test flows and campaigns. So literally everything you need to know is in this guide, and you can download it in the description down below. Now, I'm going to get into the core segments that every store needs. And just a quick overview, these are all the segments that I'm going to be going over. So there's number 1, the engaged subscribers. Number 2, unengaged subscribers. Number 3, VIP customers. Number 4, at-risk customers. Number 5, never purchased. And then number 6, recent purchasers. So the first segment that we're going to be going over is the engaged subscribers. So a lot of your email sends are going to be going to this segment. And, the definition of this is people that have opened or clicked an email in the last 30 to 60 days. Typically when I send emails, I'd like to do the last 90 to 120 days. But if you're new to sending on Klaviyo, you haven't really done much email marketing, I would start with the 30 to 60 day segment and then essentially just expand out from there. Why this segment matters, these are your safest sends, basically meaning that it's the best for your deliverability. It's going to give you your highest open rates, your highest click-through rates, and your highest revenue. And you want to use this for most campaigns, especially promotion. So going into Klaviyo here, I'll actually go ahead and create this segment just so you can see how to do that live on Klaviyo. So you go over to the List and Segments tab, and then you're going to go to Create, and then you'll go to Create Segment. And then for the name, you can just title it Engaged L60. And then, so the first condition that you're going to set is what someone has done or not done. And then person has, obviously you want to check the segment condition. They've opened or clicked an email in the last 30 to 60 days. So opened email, you just type that in the search. Open email at least once in the default's going to say 30, but you're going to switch this to 60. And then you're going to add a condition. And by default, it's going to be an or condition. So you're going to make sure that this is or, because it's either opened or clicked. So you're going to go ahead and do that again. So what someone has done, you're going to type in clicked at least once in the last 60 days. And then the last condition is we want to make sure that for every segment that we create, that the person is still eligible to receive email marketing. Because sometimes what happens is you can create these segments, but it might still include people that you've already suppressed. True, accurate representation of how many people are in a specific segment. You want to add this last condition and make sure to switch this to and then someone can receive marketing, person can receive email marketing. And then go ahead and click create segment, and then that segment should be created on Klaviyo. So that's the engaged subscribers is going to be your money making meat and potato segment that you're going to be using very, very often. And then segment number 2 is kind of the opposite of segment number 1. These are your unengaged subscribers. So obviously the definition is people that have not opened or clicked in the last 60 to 90 days. And why this matters is that you want to sending to these people actually hurt deliverability, because if you're sending to people that consistently are not opening or clicking your emails, that's going to be sending a negative feedback loop to these major email service providers like Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, etc. Basically telling them like, hey, I'm sending these emails out, but people are not wanting to open or click them. Maybe it might show them that, you might be an illegitimate sender, and that's going to harm your reputation over time. So you want to create this segment and you want to use it for re-engagement campaigns, sunset flows, or just to simply exclude them from regular sends. So I'm going to go ahead and create this as well. So it'll be the same exact thing. So unengaged, let's say unengaged L just stands for last 60. So open an email 0 times in the last 60 days, or clicked an email 0 times in the last 60 days. I'm actually going to switch this to and, because now we want to kind of capture all levels of engagement. So if they opened an email 0 times and they clicked an email 0 times, if they've done none of those, then I would truly consider them as unengaged. So we're going to do and here, and then obviously you still want to keep this condition here. They can receive email marketing. So again, that's open email 0 times and clicked email 0 times. If they've done one or the other, then I wouldn't consider them as unengaged. But if they do both, if they haven't done both, then that's definitely considered unengaged. Now, segment number 3 is going to be VIP customers. And the definition of this is that they've placed 3+ orders or spent X dollars over lifetime. So this is really up to you and your brand. Typically, I like to do 3 to 5 times. If they've placed an order 3 to 5 unique times in the past, then I consider them to be a VIP. But then there's also some brands that I work with that consider a VIP to spend, let's say, over $500. So to create this in Klaviyo, I'll just title this VIP segment. And then same thing, what someone has done. Instead of open email, you're going to do placed order. And then instead of 0 times, you're going to do is at least 3 times. And instead of in the last, you're just going to do over all time. So this is just the history of this entire profile. So they place an order is at least 3 over all time. You can actually hit this trash icon for the clicked email. So they place an order at least 3 times in their entire life, and they're still eligible to receive email marketing. That's the definition of this segment. And the reason why this segment matters so much is because these are your most valuable customers, right? They're literally spending the most money with your brand, and you want to treat them a little bit differently. So for example, you can send them earlier access to sales and deals and discounts that you might be running, or exclusive offers, new product drops. You can give them loyalty perks, etc. And again, you can treat this VIP customer however you'd like. Again, I like to do 3 to 5 times place of an order, or again, you can do total revenue based off of $500. Just you can kind of treat it based off of the average order value. So for example, if your AOV is like $50, their total revenue or lifetime value with your store is like $250 or $300 plus. So that's segment number 3. And then segment number 4 is going to be at-risk customers. So the definition of this are people that have purchased before but haven't purchased in the last 60 to 90 days. So this is kind of similar to like a customer win-back. So this is a typical segment that would trigger the customer win-back flow. So for example, if they place an order today, but they haven't came back in 2 to 3 months, they're at risk of churning and you never hearing from them, or them never placing an order with your brand ever again. So the way that you're going to create this is, I'll just go ahead and reset everything right here so you can see. Treat this as at risk. You're going to name it at risk. So place an order at least once in the last, let's say 75 days. And then you're going to add a condition that says, okay, so this is actually going to be the way that you're going to create this segment is going to do place order at least once, just in general. So just to reset this, so what someone has done, you're going to do place order at least once over all time, and you're also going to say what someone has done and place order 0 times in the last 75 days. So they've placed an order at least once over all time, but they have not placed an order 0 times in the last 75 days, and they still can receive email marketing. Yeah, so this is matching up with this condition here, place order at least once, and it's not placed an order in the last 90 days. You can do 60 to 90 days. I like to start with like 70 to 80 and then kind of A/B test it from there. But the reason why this segment matters so much is because they're literally slipping away. If you don't message them, they might forget about your brand. They lost interest most likely. So that's the reason they're slipping away as a customer, and you want to use this for win-back campaigns and special offers to re-engage. Again, you can even send campaigns to this segment as well to kind of encourage them to come back and sort of re-engage with them. Again, these are your at-risk customers. Now, the next segment is people that have never purchased from your brand at all. So they're on your list, but they've never placed an order. So I'm going to create a segment for that right now. So you're just going to title this never purchased. So same thing, place order, but you're just going to say 0 times over all time, and you can get rid of this as well. So they're on your list, they can receive email marketing, but they've never placed an order with your brand. Typically, this is probably going to be a big segment because there's probably a lot of people that are joining your list every single day, but not everyone is placing an order. So the reason why it matters is, again, it's your largest segment, so it needs nurturing, and it's perfect for like welcome offers, social proof campaigns, and even education as well. So one thing that I like to do is I like to send this segment, like whenever I send a normal like educational or value-based campaign, like a non-promo campaign, I send that campaign to 2 separate segments sometimes. So sometimes I'll send it to the entire engage segment, but then I'll filter the engage segment by people that have never purchased before. And for that specific segment, so the engage segment that's never purchased before, I'll actually add a banner to the very top with the same welcome offer that I'm offering in the welcome series. And the reason for that is because when we send campaigns out, we want to remind people that they still have that welcome offer that they haven't used yet. Because again, everyone that's never purchased before should still be eligible to still use that welcome offer. And so we put that welcome offer at the very top of some of the campaigns that we run, and that sometimes encourages people to place an order. So this might be a couple months after someone actually completes the welcome series. Well, if we send them an educational campaign, we can literally see if they are a purchaser or if they're not a purchaser. And if they're not a purchaser, then again, adding that banner to the top will encourage them to maybe place their first order. And we've seen that work really, really well. So again, the condition is they've placed order 0 times. The last segment that we're going to create here is the recent purchasers. So the definition of this is that someone that has purchased from your emails, or someone that's purchased from your store in the last 7 to 14 days. So I'll just go ahead and create the 7-day segment. So again, you can title this like purchased last 7 days. So place order at least once in the last 7 days. And that's how you create that segment. Very, very simple. So the definition, again, purchase in the last 7 to 14 days. The reason why this segment matters so much is because you want to sometimes exclude this segment from heavy promos. So just as an example of this, during Black Friday, Cyber Monday recently, we use this segment very, very frequently in order to prevent people that have placed an order on Black Friday from receiving subsequent reminder Black Friday emails, because we don't want to bombard people with the same offer over and over and over again, especially if they've already bought. And so again, you want to exclude people that have recently purchased, so that way they're not feeling like, oh, why am I getting this email when I've already, placed an order from the first email they sent, because they just bought. And then again, you want to use this for post-purchase content, or even exclude them from your sales campaigns, as I mentioned. So for example, post-purchase content could be like frequently asked questions, how to use the product, how to make the most out of it, usage tips, that sort of thing. And then again, you can exclude them from your sales campaigns. But the condition for this is that, again, place an order at least once in the last 7 to 14 days. So I actually went over how to create a segment in Klaviyo. Again, you're going to go over to the List and Segments tab. You're going to click on Create Segment, and then you're just going to go through all the steps that I've gone over in this video. Again, you can feel free to rewind this video to kind of go through each of these 6 segments and actually create them for yourself on your account. But yeah, you want to use segments in your campaigns. So when you're creating a campaign, select a segment instead of your full list like you would typically. And just a pro tip, always send promos to engaged segments first, and then you can always send to more segments after that. But that engaged segment is going to be the #1 segment that to improve your deliverability and really just maximize the conversions from your campaigns. And then for the excluding segments, when you actually build the campaign on Klaviyo, there's going to be an option to exclude specific lists and segments. So you want to, use the don't send to for recent purchasers or even unengaged subscribers as well. So just some key takeaways: segments equals dynamic groups that auto update based off of behavior. You want to use smart sending. So you want to stop blasting your full list, use segments for smarter sends. Core segments that we talked about already is like engaged, unengaged, VIP, at risk, never purchased, recent purchasers. And if you want better results, at the end of the day, you just want better targeting, right? So better targeting equals better deliverability, more revenue, and fewer unsubscribes. Hope this was helpful. And that's it. You now know how to create segments in Klaviyo and which ones actually matter for your store. Just a quick recap: we covered the difference between lists and segments. We built out your core segments like engaged subscribers, VIPs, and at-risk customers, and I showed you how to use them to send smarter campaigns. By the way, if you haven't grabbed the email revenue playbook yet, it's 126 pages covering the 4 pillars of e-commerce email, basically everything you need to know about e-commerce email in 2026: list growth, deliverability, flows, and campaigns. It's all free in the description, so if you just click the link and you can go ahead and download it. And if you're watching this thinking, I'd rather just have someone handle this all for me, that's literally what I do. So there's a link in the description as well to book a free strategy call with me. Again, no pitch. We'll just look at your current email setup, figuring out what's costing you money, and see how we can get the most out of your email channel. So I'll see you in the next one.